When we talk about God's timing, we often wrestle with frustration, impatience, or confusion. We wonder why certain things take so long, why doors don't open when we want them to, or why silence seems to echo louder than answers. But the truth we often forget is this: God's timing is never random. It is not accidental, delayed by error, or driven by coincidence. It is exact, it is intentional, and it is rooted in divine wisdom that sees far beyond what our limited human eyes can perceive. God doesn't guess, He doesn't work on estimates. He is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, and that means He already knows where you're going before you even take your first step. Every second, every delay, every not yet is perfectly crafted within the divine architecture of your life. There are things God has planned for you that cannot happen a second earlier or a second later than they are meant to. Because if they did, you wouldn't be ready, others wouldn't be ready, or the outcome would fall short of the glory He intends to reveal. When God said everything changes on June 20, 2025, it wasn't a vague message. It was a divine appointment, an intentional date on the heavenly calendar. Just as He set the exact time for Abraham and Sarah to conceive a child in their old age, just as He sent Jesus to be born in the fullness of time, just as He allowed Lazarus to die so that the miracle of resurrection would bring greater faith, so too is your appointed day marked with precision. We often think of delays as disappointments, but in the kingdom of God, delays are often divine protection. They protect us from stepping into places unprepared, from receiving blessings we're not yet equipped to carry. A blessing too soon can crush us, but a blessing in God's timing, it becomes a testimony. There's a reason the door didn't open last year. There's a reason that relationship didn't work out. There's a reason your plan had to fall apart so His plan could be revealed. And though you may not understand it in the moment, there will come a day, maybe even June 20, 2025, when everything suddenly makes sense. When the fog lifts, the dots connect, and the waiting transforms into wonder. God sees your tears, your prayers, and your faith. And while it may seem like He's been silent, He's actually been working behind the scenes, aligning people, preparing opportunities, and maturing you in the process. Sometimes the waiting period is where He builds your character, stretches your trust, and deepens your relationship with Him. It is not wasted time, it is preparation time. So, don't despise the delay. Don't give up just because it hasn't happened yet. Instead, anchor your hope in this truth: God is never late, never early, always perfectly on time. And when He says a specific day is marked for change, you can trust that heaven is already in motion. Angels are already dispatched. Circumstances are already shifting. People are being placed in position. And by the time you step into that moment, everything will be exactly as it needs to be, not because of chance, but because God planned it that way. So hold on, stay faithful, keep praying, keep preparing, because June 20, 2025 isn't just a day, it's a turning point written by the hand of God. And when that day arrives, you'll realize the wait was a delay. It was divine timing, never random, always right. There's a unique kind of pain that comes with waiting, especially when you believe in a promise, but everything around you seems silent. You pray, you fast, you hold on to hope, yet time keeps moving and the answer feels distant. You start to wonder, did God forget me? Did I hear wrong? Was it ever really mine? But let me tell you something today with full assurance: what was delayed will be delivered. Delay is not denial. When something God ordained is delayed, it is not because He has changed His mind or taken His hand off your life. It is often because the thing you're waiting for is being prepared for you, and just as importantly, you are being prepared for it. A delay in delivery doesn't mean the package has been lost. It means it is still in processing, still in transit, and still under divine protection. We serve a God who sees the full picture, not just the small corner we live in. We may feel like time is running out, but God is not bound by deadlines. He operates outside of time, and everything he promises comes with a divine seal. If God said he will do it, he will do it. It may not come when you expect, but when it does, it will arrive at the exact moment it is meant to, not rushed, not lacking, not broken, but whole, complete, and right on time. Think of Joseph in the Bible. He had dreams as a teenager, dreams given by God, but what followed was not glory. It was betrayal, slavery, prison, and years of silence. It looked like everything was delayed. It looked like the dream had died. But in one divine moment, everything shifted. Pharaoh called for him, and Joseph went from prisoner to prime minister. The delay wasn't failure. It was God's way of preparing both Joseph and the nation of Egypt for the season ahead. Had Joseph's promise come too early, he wouldn't have been ready. But the delay ensured that when the delivery came, it was complete and world-changing. This is how God works. He doesn't do partial blessings. He doesn't release things half-baked. He delivers in fullness. And if your promise has been delayed, it's not because God forgot. It's because he is working in the background, building, refining, aligning, and making all things ready. Your name is still on the promise. The assignment is still yours. The calling hasn't been canceled. What God spoke over your life is still active. Heaven hasn't changed its mind just because the earth is taking time to catch up. Delay is sometimes God's way of protecting you from premature exposure, from blessings that would overwhelm you, or from timing that would cause you to fall. And when the time comes when God says, now, no devil, no person, no circumstance can stop what he has ordained. Delivery doesn't depend on your perfection. It depends on his promise, and he never fails. June 20, 2025 may very well be that day for you. The day the thing you almost gave up on arrives. The day the no becomes a yes. The day the door that stayed closed for years swings wide open. It may come quietly or it may come suddenly, but one thing is certain: it will come. So don't lose heart. Don't walk away now. If it's taking longer than expected, trust that it's going to be better than you imagine. What was delayed isn't lost. It isn't forgotten. It's on the way, and when it shows up, it'll be worth every moment you waited, every tear you cried, and every time you chose to believe when it would have been easier to quit. Because when God delivers, he delivers perfectly. There's something deeply comforting in knowing that our pain has an expiration date. No matter how heavy the burden feels, no matter how long the night lasts, your struggle has a scheduled end. It may not feel like it while you're in it, when the days blur together, when the answers don't come, when you feel like you're holding on by a thread, but in heaven's calendar, your suffering is not endless. God, in his infinite wisdom and compassion, has already marked the moment where it all turns around. We often assume struggle means abandonment, but that's far from the truth. Struggle is not a sign that God has left you. It's often a sign that he's working on you. Pain has a purpose. The seasons of hardship refine us, humble us, deepen us, and make us stronger than we ever thought possible. God never wastes a wound. Every tear you've cried, every disappointment you've faced, every battle you've fought, none of it has gone unnoticed. Heaven sees it all, and the beautiful truth is this: God has already scheduled your release. You're not stuck forever. It may feel like the struggle is permanent, like this storm will never pass, but feelings are not facts. And the fact is, the one who authored your story has already written the moment where the struggle ends and the victory begins. Just like winter doesn't last forever, and night must eventually give way to dawn, so too must your struggle come to a close. There is a divine timeline at play, even when your situation feels motionless. Think of the Israelites in Egypt. For 400 years they suffered under slavery. It looked like they were forgotten, but God had already promised deliverance. The oppression wasn't permanent, it had a scheduled end, and when the time came, nothing could stop it. Not Pharaoh, not the Red Sea, not fear, not even their own doubts, when God says enough. everything must obey. The same is true for you. You may not know the exact date, but God does, and maybe, just maybe, that date is June 2025, the day your healing begins, the day your finances shift, the day your loneliness lifts, the day clarity replaces confusion, the day your prayers finally get answered in a way that leaves no room for doubt. When God sets a time, nothing can delay it. You won't be 1 second too early or too late. You'll walk into that break through exactly on time. But while you're still in the struggle, remember this: God is not just preparing the blessing for you, He's also preparing you for the blessing. There's a version of you that can't carry the weight of your next season yet. That's why you're in the fire, not to burn, but to be refined. The struggle may be stretching you, but it's also strengthening you. It's making you wiser. It's teaching you how to trust. It's building endurance and producing a testimony that will carry weight when your season shifts. Don't mistake the silence for absence. Just because God hasn't spoken doesn't mean He isn't working. Some of the deepest transformations happen quietly, invisibly, like seeds growing beneath the soil. And then, one day, everything blossoms. Hold on to this. Every storm runs out of rain. Every night eventually sees the sun. And every struggle, yes, even yours, has an appointed end. When that day comes, it won't just be the end of suffering. It will be the beginning of something new, something beautiful, something only God could orchestrate. So stay faithful, keep believing. Don't give up 5 minutes before your miracle. Because your breakthrough has a date, your healing has a time stamp, and your struggle, though fierce, is not forever. It's already on God's calendar, and it's coming to an end. When God says everything changes, He doesn't mean just a part of your life. He doesn't only touch your finances but leave your relationships in chaos. He doesn't only heal your body but leave your mind tormented by anxiety. When He declares that everything will change, He means everything, every area, every burden, every prayer you've whispered in desperation. Because God is not a halfway God. He is a God of completion, and His desire is to bring wholeness, not partial relief. So often, we limit God by believing He will only fix one part of our brokenness. We think, maybe He'll help me with my job, but my marriage is too far gone. Or He might heal this sickness, but my depression is just something I'll have to live with forever. But God does not work in fragments. He doesn't patch up one wound and leave the others festering. His promise of change is comprehensive, a sweeping transformation that reaches into the deepest corners of your life, the places you've hidden, the wounds you don't talk about, the dreams you've buried. When God says everything changes, it means spiritual chains will break, setting you free from patterns and cycles that have held you captive for years. It means mental clarity will come, lifting the fog of confusion and hopelessness that has clouded your decisions. It means emotional healing will unfold, where old wounds and traumas that have kept you bound will begin to mend. It means relationships will be restored, hearts softened, forgiveness given, and families reunited. It means finances will align, provision will flow, and doors of opportunity will open in places you never expected. And it doesn't stop there. When God moves, He moves in overflow. He doesn't do the bare minimum just to get you by. The Bible says He does exceedingly abundantly above all we ask or think. And that means when He says everything, He means far beyond your imagination. He knows the silent prayers you've whispered in the middle of the night. He knows the worries you've never voiced to anyone. He sees the secret fears and insecurities you try to hide behind a smile, and He is committed to transforming all of it. When God's hand moves across your life, things you thought were dead will come alive again. Dreams you set aside will be revived. Gifts you thought you lost will resurface with new power. Relationships that seemed irreparably broken will heal in ways you couldn't orchestrate on your own. Even your purpose will become clear as the confusion and doubts that clouded your path are swept away. This is what it means when he says everything, not 50%, not 90%, everything, because he is the God who finishes what he starts, and his work is perfect and complete. He doesn't just remove the symptoms of your struggle, he uproots the cause. He doesn't just give temporary relief, he brings lasting restoration. He doesn't just change your circumstances, he changes you the way you think, the way you believe, the way you stand in faith. So don't settle for partial breakthroughs or small expectations. Don't box God into human limits. If he promised that everything changes, dare to believe him for everything. Dare to believe that no area of your life is off limits to his power. Dare to believe that he can heal your body and your heart, transform your career and your relationships, redeem your past and secure your future, because God's promise is not vague or general, it is precise and powerful. When he says everything changes, he is inviting you to trust him completely, to expect him fully, and to prepare yourself to step into a season where nothing stays the same. And when that day comes, maybe even on June 20, 2025, you will stand in awe, realizing that everything truly means everything. Preparation is a silent, powerful act of faith. It is one thing to say you believe that God will move, but it is another thing entirely to live like it's already happening. When we truly expect something from God, we prepare for it. We clear space, we make room, we get in position not because we see it yet, but because we believe it's on the way. That's why preparation proves expectation. Anyone can say, I believe things will change. But the question is, are you preparing for that change? If you believe God is going to bless you with a job, are you updating your resume, learning new skills, showing up early to interviews, or sharpening your professional habits? If you believe God is going to heal your relationship, are you working on your heart, learning how to forgive, communicating better, and removing pride? If you believe a promise is on the way, you don't sit idle, you get ready. Faith without action is incomplete. You can pray for rain, but if you're not walking around with an umbrella, do you really expect it to come? That's the kind of faith God is looking for, not just emotional excitement, but practical preparation. When Noah was told to build the ark, there were no clouds in the sky, no thunder, no warning signs, but he built anyway. Why? Because he believed what God said, and his preparation proved his expectation. God doesn't want spectators. He's looking for participators, people who won't just wait for the promise, but will prepare for the promise, people who clean out the room before the baby arrives, people who pack their bags even when they don't have a plane ticket yet, people who live in alignment with the word God spoke over their life. There's power in preparation because it shows God that you're serious. It tells heaven that you are not only believing in the miracle, but you're ready to carry it when it comes. It's not enough to want breakthrough, you have to be prepared to manage it. Sometimes God delays a promise not because he's punishing us, but because he's waiting for us to get ready for what we asked for. What if the thing you're praying for showed up today? Would you be prepared to receive it? Could you handle the weight, the responsibility, the opportunity, the blessing? Preparation stretches your capacity. It enlarges your character. It trains your heart so that when the door opens, you don't fumble the moment. Think of the 5 wise virgins in the Bible who kept oil in their lamps while waiting for the bridegroom. The others had the same opportunity, but they didn't prepare. When the moment came, they missed it not because they weren't invited, but because they weren't ready. Preparation is what separates those who enter the promise from those who simply hear about it. If God said that everything changes on June 20, 2025, then today is not the time to sit back. Today is the time to prepare. Start acting like change is already here. Speak differently. Walk with boldness. Eliminate distractions. Organize your life in a way that reflects your faith. Because if you truly expect God to move, your life should show it. Get your house in order. Make the plans. Write the vision. Start the project, prepare the field for rain, because when the promise comes, and it will come suddenly, and those who prepared will not be caught off guard. They will be ready to walk into it with confidence, strength, and peace. Expectation without preparation is just wishful thinking, but when you prepare in faith, you declare with your actions, God, I believe you, I trust your timing, I'm ready for what you're about to do. And that kind of preparation doesn't just prove expectation, it attracts the blessing. When God speaks, it isn't just a hopeful statement or a nice thought, it is a declaration of certainty. He is not like man, who makes promises and breaks them, who speaks from emotion or assumption. When God says something, it is rooted in his unchanging nature, backed by the full authority of heaven. So when you hear the words, if God said it, it's already done, understand this, it is not just coming. It already exists in the Spirit. It's not a question of if. It's a matter of when it manifests in your life. God speaks from the end to the beginning. That means before your situation even began, he had already spoken the outcome. While you're still figuring out the problem, God has already written the solution. He doesn't wait for circumstances to align before making a promise. His word creates the alignment. When he speaks healing, healing is already done. When he declares restoration, it is already complete. When he says breakthrough, the walls have already begun to fall. This is the confidence we have in him, that when he speaks, nothing can stop what he has decreed. No delay, no person, no devil, no system, no failure in your past can override the word of the living God. If he said you're going to rise, then it's only a matter of time before you rise. If he said everything changes, then everything must come into alignment with that change. We must learn to trust his word more than our surroundings. Too often, we doubt the promise because of what we see. The bank account is empty, the diagnosis is still there, the door is still closed, but don't confuse visible delay with spiritual inactivity. Heaven is always ahead of earth. The moment God speaks a thing, it is settled in the spirit realm, and just like seeds planted in the ground, what's been spoken is already growing, shifting, and forming, even if you can't see it yet. Abraham was told he would be the father of many nations when he didn't have a single child. For years he walked with nothing but a word, but the word of God never returned void. When the time was right, the promise came to pass. Joseph was shown a vision of leadership and influence, but was thrown into a pit, sold as a slave, and forgotten in prison. Still, every step moved him closer to what was already spoken. Why? Because when God says something, it cannot fail. We have to begin living like the word is already true. Because it is, speak like it's done, praise like it's done, move like it's done. Don't wait for the manifestation to believe it's real. Believe it because God said it. That's what faith is, standing on the word even when nothing around you agrees with it. It's trusting that God's voice holds more weight than your current reality. Maybe June 20, 2025 is your marked day. The day when what God already completed in the Spirit will manifest in your hands. But whether it happens that day or another, know this. Once God speaks, the matter is settled. No need to second guess. No need to panic. No need to wonder if it's still coming. It's already done. What remains is your alignment, your faith, your preparation, your obedience, not because your effort makes it happen, but because it positions you to receive what God has already finished. His word doesn't expire, his promises don't wither, his voice doesn't echo in vain. Every syllable he speaks carries power, and when he speaks to your life, things move. So rest in this truth. If God said it, then you don't need to strive. You need to trust. You don't need to beg. You need to believe. It's not pending, it's prophesied. It's not being considered, it's confirmed. And it's not a maybe, it's already done.